Hi guys, I'm Edyta Sitar from Laundry Basket Quilts. I am at Vetquarter Shop Studios. So excited to share with you my new book, Sew in Love. Oh guys, you're gonna just love this book. There are 12 beautiful blocks and I would love to share with you some techniques and tips as we are making the blocks. So let's start with block number 1, Stardust. You're gonna need fabric, and I prepare a beautiful fabric. In the book, you always have a little sweetheart, and on the heart shows you exactly which fabric you're going to use. I chose light pink and red for our first block. And this block, I wanted to teach you that when I'm making something new and difficult, I always practice one piece to learn the technique, and then I move on and make dozens of them. So once you have your fabric selected, make sure you press them. You're gonna cut the fabrics, and I'm gonna cut square C, square B, square D, and I would like you to make sure you pay attention to the directions in the book for cutting, and also we're gonna cut a square A. Now this is rather simple, we're just cutting squares, so I'm gonna use a simple ruler and just cut it following the lines on my ruler. No bias cuts for this one. Ready, set, go to the piecing part. The larger square A, you're gonna set it to the side and wait a minute with it. We're not gonna use it yet, but the light square and the red square, you can start up right away. You're gonna place both of those together, right sides together, just like this, and then you're gonna draw a diagonal line from point to point right here. And normally I would use a red pencil called Sew Line, and this pencil has a red ink to it, and it looks very nice. You can see it when you're up close, but for the video I'm gonna use the darker one, and you can use that one as well. So what I'm doing is just take my ruler, place it down, my pieces, and every time I draw a line, I make sure I'm not only matching from point to point, but I also match this side right here. And then with my pencil, I'm gonna place a really nice thin line, so that line would be the line I'm going to be sewing on it. I am so excited. I have to repeat that for every little square set that I'm going to do it. And since this is a small piecing, always start up with a little swatch of fabric. You're gonna start right here and sew right on a line straight down and do a little bit of a chain sewing. And a little tip right here, I wanna show this for you. When you start sewing, make sure you leave little room in between. Notice how I don't have much room right here, and I left a little bit more room between this and this, because later on it's so much easier to clip your units apart when you have a little bit of a room right there. So right when you start, stitch on the line, make sure you are nice and exact, clip those little pieces apart, and now you are ready to start pressing. Notice it, when I open it, I'm gonna get a half square triangle unit. I'm gonna trim this side right off, and how I do this, with that same ruler, I'm gonna position my ruler this time. Notice I bring this line and lay it right next to the edge, and then this line is right here on my stitch line, giving me a 1/4 inch room, and I can take a rotary, gently trim it, boom. I am done, ready, set, go for my half square triangle unit, and gently press it. As soon as you finish pressing, then it's time to do a second step. You're going to take another square, place it right over, just like this, and again, take a ruler, put it over, draw a line. Look at this, how exciting. Draw a line. Now, remember, start stitching on a low piece of fabric so your needle doesn't push that point right down to your bobbin. You want a nice start up, beginners and enders right there. So right there, start sewing. And I use Microtex needle for my delicate sewing, for my precision sewing. Sew it straight down, So excited about this one. Look at this, just finished. What I'm going to do, I'm super excited. I want to see how that little unit looks. It's just beautiful. And I'm gonna take again my ruler, position my ruler. Notice it, this side is perfect because it's giving me that little 4.5 inch Creative Grids ruler is really nice for trimming. I have my line match with the side, point to point, 1/4 inch room, and I'm going to take my rotary and trim it again. Repeat it multiple times because we need 4 of them for one little Stardust star. So here, ready, set, go. I have mine prepare. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're gonna start laying out our block, and we have 4 little squares for corners right here, and that is our square that we already pre-cut it previously. So we have 4 of the units, 5 little squares, 1 in the center, 4 in the corners, and now what we're going to do is sew them into rows. We're gonna sew this to this, this to this, then second row is this to this, this to this. Our seam allowances would be pushed towards light in the center, and our third row right here is the same arrangement then right here, and again seam allowance push towards light. As soon as I finish sewing my rows, I would sew rows together into a beautiful low 3.5 inch unit for Stardust. As soon as I finish sewing my Stardust unit, I am placing it in front of me, pressing all my seam allowances towards the lights right there. So from this side, notice all the seam allowances go this way. Now I'm gonna take my little rotary and a ruler and press it, place it right down, and make sure I square out all my little blocks. Every time I finish a unit, I square my unit. Every time I finish my block, I square my block. That allows me to keep nice, accurate measurements and a nice, beautiful block. And believe me, even after all these years of quilting, this helps me be better and better with all of the things that I do. So don't skip that. Very important to trim your blocks. And those, like I said, the 4.5 inch low rulers fit perfectly. We need a 3.5 unfinished block, but the 4.5 give me room to see and give me room to put my hand on so I can see it. So I like my ruler just 1 inch bigger than the unfinished measurements of the block. I have finished some of the blocks, and now I'm gonna lay the units, and I'm gonna lay out our whole block. I am so excited about this one, and believe me, the more you do it, the better you get in it, because practice makes perfect. It's just like riding a bike. When you first get on it, it's very hard and maybe you fall off, but that's okay. Just get up, shake yourself off, get right back on it, and keep pedaling around so you learn a fun technique and you do something new and exciting. So in Stardust Block, now we have 5 stars. 3 of them are in red, 2 of them are in pink. We're gonna position them on the outside of the corners, and we're gonna position the red one diagonally in the middle of the block. And again, light, beautiful background block. Those are 3.5 inch. We're gonna put them right in between, and more of the measurements you can find all in a book in cutting directions. Now I'm gonna sew this to this, this to this, this to this, this to this. So we have 3 rows again. Notice it. Always pushing the seam allowance towards light. I know you have been taught in quilting that seam allowance goes towards dark, but with some of the blocks we're gonna break some of the rules because we wanna use the seam allowance towards our advantage. So if I have 2 seams coming towards a fabric that doesn't have seam, those seams gonna force it, and we want to push it towards light. Nice quality of fabric. You're not gonna see the seam allowances, but it's gonna benefit for us, so that way our block lays nice and flat and locks the seams right here when the rows are beautifully sewn together. Our first block is completed, and now look at it into the quilt. It's right there in the corners of our quilt. Isn't that amazing? If you can make a 1, you can make 4, and that's how many you need for the quilt. Thank you, and I hope to see you for our next block.